Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are almost ready to do a moon landing, but we're going to need a moon lander to do a moon landing. Imagine that. So we're going to need to make a bit of a landing craft here, and the question is, how are we going to go about doing that? Well, first things first, I think we are going to be reusing basically the entire Flea Heavy booster section, so we'll just take that off and stick that over there in an as-is state, and we're going to overhaul the spacecraft portion here. So this here is our decoupler and heat shield combo that will be necessary. Okay, and this is our science over here. We've got all of our experiments that we can bring. That's great. Okay, we've got our single solar panel and our drogue chutes. Wait, what are you? You're a thermometer? We've already got one of you in here, if I recall correctly. Yeah, we've got a thermometer in there. Okay, so we are going to need the drogue chutes and the science container. We're going to ditch this particular pod, and we're going to go for the Mark 1 lander can, I think, for now. We're probably going to upgrade to something a little bit more, more later on. But for right now, this will be fine. What is our crash tolerance here? 8 meters per second? Okay, if you compare that to the service bay, that's 14 meters per second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the service bay down below, but the Science Junior up top, like so. And then we will go ahead and place the experiment container up there, and the solar panel right on the back here. But we're going to move the drogue chutes to be on the experiment container, like so. Okay, so we've reorganized this, lightened it up a little bit. This is going to be what we will be re-entering with, so we can go ahead and put the decoupler on here. Excellent. Next, we do need to have an engine here. And I think we're going to go ahead and go with a Terrier. Now, obviously, that has no fuel, and that's a bit of a problem. But we'll get to that in just a moment. We're also going to need some landing legs. So let's go to ground. Here we go. So we probably want LT1 landing struts. Those are the largest we currently have, and I'm going to put 4 of them on about like this. Okay, and then we will start those retracted. We're going to need a decoupler here, so let's go to our coupling, and we're just going to stick in a TD12. Okay, now we are going to need fuel to run this. And I think we're just going to radially attach that. So we'll do a radial decoupler right about here-ish, maybe here. And then we're just going to have, what, T400s? That might be overkill. What do you think? Too much fuel? I think that might be too much fuel. The real question is, are we going to have thrust to weight for this? Another thing we're going to probably want is TD12s up top here, and aerodynamic nose cones, like that. And then we would just attach these in with an external fuel duct, kind of like that. Is that not low enough? That might not be low enough. We'll connect it in there. Okay. So, how much burn time do we have here? Can we change our frame of reference? Yes. The moon. 3.10 is our thrust to weight ratio. So we have plenty of thrust to weight on the moon. And more than plenty on Minmus. Okay. So we're going to need to check our staging on this, obviously. But this is the the basic craft, we're going to want some landing struts. We're going to want some strut connectors to just solidify this a little bit, about like that. And then the question is, can we actually launch this? I don't know, but we'll go ahead and double check these stagings here. So we've got our main parachute as the very last stage, and then we've got our drogue chutes, which actually, I'm looking at this and thinking that I want to maybe move this a little bit. I want to move the tanks, actually, and have them be placed a little bit more dead on there. We'll have to redo the struts, and we should test this to see if we can actually EVA out of that. Okay, so let's set our body back to Kerbin. Our thrust to weight isn't going to lift this thing on Kerbin, but that's fine. It doesn't need to. Okay, checking this staging. We ditch these, the side tanks, before we fire the parachutes, but after we ditch the engine, right? Or at the same time as we ditch the engine, actually. These can all be in the same stage. And then we would want to ditch the nose cones probably substantially before we ditched the second stage, because we want to ditch the nose cones once we're in space, pretty much. So we'll have that as stage 5 for now. We may manually stage that. We'll have to see. I'm going to save this as the Flea 2L for lander. And then the heavy lifter component here would just slot right on, like that. And then we don't want this to be in the same stage 5 for sure. So that goes there. That engine fires. We definitely want this to be in a separate stage here. Okay, let's work from the bottom up. So we want these 3 to fire at first. Our thrust to weight is a little on the low side, even with 3 reliance. That's interesting. It's not super low, but it's a little bit low. Okay, so then we want to fire all of these. This ditches the nose cones. We don't want to do that immediately. We want to ditch these tanks next. We don't want to ditch this immediately. Let's move that up for now. And the nose cones are realistically going to have to be in a different stage here. We want those to be around the same time we use this stage here, but not at exactly the same time. So we want to ditch off the side boosters first. And then the nose cones would go, like, slightly after we fire our second stage. Yeah, that'll have to do. Okay, so nose cones, and then the second stage detaches, and the landing stage ignites at the same time. There we go. And then the next press of the spacebar detaches that engine and the tanks and gets us ready for re-entry. Okay, I think our staging is actually good. Do we want to bring Jeb or Valentina to this? Jeb has more XP, so I think we bring Valentina. Okay, no design severity issues. Our mass appears to be good, our parts appear to be good. The major thing I'm concerned about right now is this initial thrust to weight ratio. Do we want to put on SRBs as well, like here and here? I don't know, but I did say that we wanted to check to make sure that a Kerbal actually could get out of this hatch. So let's go ahead and run a quick simulated launch here. And we're going to test two things, and we are guaranteed to revert this, no matter what. So we're going to test primarily whether we can EVA here. Oh, okay, that's a potential issue. Look at how wiggly that is up there. We're going to need to potentially put in some struts there. Okay, we did successfully EVA. And technically we don't have an EVA report for landed at Kerbin's shores. So I guess we're going to get some science for this. Okay. In that case, let's go ahead and revert this now. No. We're not going to revert this. We're going to recover this. What am I talking about? And then we're going to do our simulated launch because we've now determined... Oh, it wasn't actually worth any science. Okay. But we've now determined that that hatch does indeed work, which is a good sign. And now I would very much like to determine just how bad our thrust to weight is. So we're just going to do a simulated atmospheric launch here. And we're also going to be taking a look at how waggly this portion is. And I'm guessing the answer is quite. Again, we are guaranteed to revert this. Where is the sound here? Oh. Okay. Apparently my headphones have developed a short. That's nice. Okay, so I'm just looking at the flight, or rather the ascent profile here. So far it seems to be reasonably solid. A bit slow on the ascent. Yeah, certainly slow on the ascent. Our thrust to weight is increasing in this stage, right? Yeah, very slowly. Is that going to reach 1.0 by the time we detach? That's the real question here. And as I said, this is a simulated launch. We will be reverting, guaranteed, because I want to make this a little bit stronger up here. Yeah, we're moving kind of slowly, considering our side boosters are almost flame out. Yeah, 0.76. And we are slowing down. Okay, so the next thing to question is simply, how is our turn performance? Actually pretty good. Much better than I expected. We have a lot of air control. We're able to flip. Can we stop our flip eventually? Yes, we can. Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and revert it and make a couple of subtle changes. So the major thing that I want to make sure of here is that these guys here are strutted. Oh, we need to be in quad symmetry here. Let's make sure that these guys are strutted to this stage right here. Actually, not there. To this stage right here. Chewing gum and duct tape. It doesn't look the greatest, but it'll get the job done. We could raise it up potentially and strut it like maybe here. Yeah, I think that's slightly better. And that should hold it together reasonably well. The other thing that I'm still very concerned about is our thrust to weight is now 1.06 down here. Yeah, our thrust to weight is very, very low. So what can we do about that? Well, we could bring in, say, thumpers, and we could attach some thumpers out here in the same stage. So we would move the thumpers here. That would put us at a thrust to weight of 1.55 to begin with. What about the thumpers just on their own? Can they lift this at all? No, they can't. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. I think we're going to place radial decouplers here. Right about there. And then we'll put a pair of thumpers right about there-ish. I'm going to lower it slightly down to be basically the same level as these engines. I think it's slightly lower. That's okay, though. Okay, so we don't need stage 8. And then this will become here. So we'll ditch the thumpers on the way up once we just get a little bit of momentum built up, theoretically. Okay, I need to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Next episode, we're going to do another simulated launch, followed by a real launch. Subscribe for more, and I will see you all next time.